The events in this video are fictional as the characters portrayed within. Any similarities to anyone living or dead are merely coincidental and have been created at random by Xcom's name generator. Seriously. Welcome back one and all to XCOM EW Long War II and Part 8, Demon Bell, and this time recorded with no game sound. Thanks XSplit, or XCOM, I don't know, it was one of those X's. And what that means is I had to improvise. So depending on which version of the video you're watching, either the version I had to re-record individual sounds and paste them in, or the version where I just made up the sounds as I went along. Well, let's just say your viewing pleasure may vary. Significantly.
Come in, HQ. Strike team is awaiting your orders.
Strike 1 is free to engage hostile targets at the crash site.
So here we find ourselves. Another UFO crash site, but this time, the outsider didn't have the decency to crash land in the middle of a forest, but instead brought it upon himself to bring down his ship in the middle of, well, whatever this used to be when it was still in one piece. I do know, however, that none of this was my fault.
Target touched down inside a major urban center.
Nope, definitely not my fault, so I don't have to worry about the state the buildings are in when I leave. So first things first, my troops are the sniper Steve McQueen with a scope and a laser sight, my assault Al Pacino with a tac vest, ceramic plating and a flashbang, and the rookies are Steveland Morris with bad aim, bad health, a HE and an AP grenade, Eileen Edwards with a flashbang and a HE, and Robert Redford and Betty Davis, both with above average aim but below average health. So they both got ceramic plating and a medkit and a battle scanner. Well, as we're back to the usual routine, let's have a quick look for that meld. Here's one close to our starting location, and here's the second, right next to the UFO. And what can I expect from this map? Well, considering what happened on the last UFO crash site, I'm going to say 3 packs of 3, with of course the pilot. And who can we expect? Of course there's the usual sectoids, drones and an outsider, but now with the deadly introduction of Thinmen, who of course at this point can bring along 2 varieties of new friends. So with that done, let's get down to business. Usually on a crash site, I'd have my sniper pull back into a good position, but considering the amount of debris everywhere, obscuring his vision, and of course the fact that aliens can now spawn completely at random, which means there could even be a pack here, I think right here is a good place for McQueen to set up shop. But first let's have Edwards take a peek. So far so good. I'll move McQueen close to his hiding spot, and wait until the end of the turn to dash him here, in case I trigger any sectoids here and they have a flank on him. Now I can send my point man Pacino forwards, into what clearly should be full cover, but what are you going to do?
If I had to hazard a guess, based on its profile, I'd say the aliens developed this unit with the intention of tracking and isolating...
Well, that is not a good start. Looks like a thin man and what sounded like 3 of his new friends, Seekers. And considering the accuracy Thinmen have already got, this guy's pot shots are going to have pinpoint accuracy. And looks like the only full cover anyone can reach without the possibility of getting flanked is this one right here. So Davis bolts round. Morris moves up to half cover by Pacino. And Redford pulls back to half cover by Davis, leaving Edwards to dash behind concealment, and McQueen to take his spot, ready for next turn. And as Davis is the only person in full cover that can't currently be seen, she goes into Overwatch, and everybody else hunkers down and braces for impact. And look what I've spotted right next to Redford. A patch of ground that can't be selected. Now when it comes to Seekers, besides using a battle scanner, which will force the Seeker to reveal, and subsequently fire if they're not killed, this is the best way to locate where the Seekers are. And even stranger, there are 2 tiles here that can't be selected either. And I wonder whether this is a glitch, or if they're actually Seekers here. But first things first, the priority is that Thin Man. And I only now realise that this is actually a Thin Man leader, as you can tell by his increased health. So what are his special abilities? To be honest, I don't actually know. They can be discovered by performing autopsy research on Thinmen. But to start with, we need to take care of his Overwatch. And although Pacino has got the most killing power, he's also the only one with a flashbang in range. So let's cancel out his Overwatch. And bring Davis up to get a flank. And it turns out one of the damn Seekers was on Overwatch, which I didn't actually realise they could do while cloaked. Wrong. As vastly improved as the new Long War Seeker AI is, they haven't made it so cruel as to make cloaked Seekers Overwatch. In fact, the third Seeker cloak noise I heard wasn't actually a third Seeker. It was one of the 2 Seekers that I saw simply decloak after moving into concealment, which means there are only 2 Seekers in that pod, not 3. Past me hasn't quite clocked onto that yet. But hey, you learn something new every day. And I imagine these 2 patches are in fact just a glitch. And thankfully, Davis didn't take too much damage. So Davis, I really need you to make this shot. 68-60, deal the damage. A solid hit dealing 6 damage, so Redford's got to finish the job. 78% for 1 damage. Come on, Redford. Whew, so at least that's the biggest threat out of the way. Now time for that Seeker, as I'd rather have Seeker's Strangle, as it will initially deal less damage, than have a Seeker flank and score a critical hit which could be fatal. Morris does actually have a clutch grenade throw, but since the inclusion of proximity-based damage with explosives, and the fact that Seekers have armor, reducing damage, it's probably not going to do more than 1 or 2. And if it doesn't kill him, Morris may very well get flanked in return. So I'll just have him move round, and take one of the first, incredibly inaccurate, Seeker pot shots. 34%, come on Morris, feel it. Yeah, that's to be expected. I'm going to have Edwards pull back, as it's the only place she can get to, in cover and be in Overwatch. And like Edwards, McQueen with his sniper rifle, seeing as we're fighting outside of squad sight range, I'll have him go into Overwatch as well. At this point, I have no idea what's going on. In one of the latest Long War patches, Seekers have had their AI revamped, but I wasn't aware that after being revealed, they would go back into cloak to attempt another strangulation. In fact, this is what I actually said.
What the fuck is with their AI?
So before, it looked like there was a Seeker here, which I've managed to lose track of. It looks like there's now a Seeker next to Pacino, and another next to Morris. So first let's deal with Pacino's Seeker, starting with Morris's AP grenade, as close to the target as I can manage without Pacino taking damage. So here goes the AP. And dealing a massive 2 damage, all to its armor, so sustaining 0. I'm going to want Edwards to move up to throw a grenade at this Seeker, which I'll then likely use Pacino to shoot point blank with a shotgun, which leaves McQueen, Davis, and Redford to deal with this Seeker. In case you're wondering why I'm not immediately using a battle scanner, it's because it forces all Seekers within the area to be decloaked, at which point instead of strangling, they'll simply open fire. And I don't want to decloak more Seekers than I can actually handle, so Redford leads the way with a 78-60. With the first Seeker down, I can now focus on the second, by moving Edwards up with her grenade. Unfortunately, between the 2 cars Edwards and Morris are standing behind, this is the best I can manage with the HE grenade. So here we go. And surprisingly dealing 3 damage, 2 of which absorbed by the armor, but 1 damage is better than none. So Pacino can move up and shoot it in the face with a guaranteed shot and a 70 to crit. Which leaves, I believe, a third Seeker. Unless I was mistaken, and of those 3 cloaking noises, 1 was just a bug. So McQueen and Davis go into Overwatch. And that's the sound of more Thinmen. Seeker or no Seeker, I want to start moving up. So I may as well have Pacino head to the first meld. But either way, I need to move up. I'll have Morris move up by the van. Davis move round. And heal herself to reduce the chance of being one shot in cover. Redford join her. And Edwards and McQueen move closer, just in case there is one more seeker. So McQueen switches to his pistol, and everybody overwatches. But before Pacino moves up and possibly triggers a pack of Thinmen and the pilot, I'll have Redford finally throw that battle scanner. And that is one bugged out battle scanner. And call me a coward, but I think I'm going to go with my better judgment, which is let this canister pop and not trigger the outsider and or Thinmen, who both have the pinpoint accuracy to easily shoot Redford in low cover. So bye meld canister, I wish things could have turned out differently. I move Edwards up, switch McQueen to his sniper rifle, and put everyone in Overwatch. So long, Meld. Sleep tight. With that temptation gone, let's take a peek with Pacino. This is around the time that I have to assume there was no third seeker, so time to put McQueen into another sniping spot. And with the only spot that has full cover being here, that's where he's going to eventually go. But with the random enemy placement, I'll have Edwards lead the way. Have Morris join Pacino in full cover. And do the same with Davis. Now I'd like to put Redford here, but the game's telling me this tile's taken, even though the cursor's saying that I can select it, so I'll leave Redford where he is, and have McQueen join Edwards. Then everyone can go in Overwatch. Ooh, So now I suspect there are two groups of Thinmen. One towards the scout, and the other hiding in what I thought was McQueen's new safe camping spot. So let's go check it out. Edwards can move over and make room for McQueen. And McQueen switches to his pistol and takes her old spot. Pacino can start moving closer. And everyone else can come round to join him. Reloading Morris, Davis, and Redford, in what may very well be a deadly next engagement. The rest, however, can go into Overwatch. Time for Pacino to see what we're dealing with. Unfortunately, nothing yet, so we keep moving up. And dashing people out of cover, knowing that they won't reveal anything on the way. Before we end the turn, McQueen gets into a better position. And those that didn't dash go into Overwatch. Sounds like those Thinmen have started to move on. And I've found the last meld canister. Not that it's of any use to us now. Pacino takes the lead again. And everyone else joins him. Except for McQueen, who's in a swing round to get a better angle. And Overwatch it is again. Pacino takes the lead again. And still no contacts. And while the rest of the team join him, Morris scouts the way for McQueen's new camping spot. Morris checks out McQueen's new nest. And I begin spreading people out along this full cover, starting with Davis. Then Pacino, Redford, and Edwards. Now with all the moves done that might have revealed contacts, I can now have McQueen dash up and out of cover. Then have the squad go into Overwatch. Pacino has a look round the wall. Where the hell are they? Edwards dashes round by Redford. Morris dashes up next to them. And McQueen dashes to his new home. And now another Overwatch. With my last two grenades on Edwards and Morris, I'm going to have them make a risky manoeuvre and run up to the roof and get in position for a grenade throw. And as the Thinmen were indicated to be over here, and moving up to the roof might trigger the outsider, I'll put Edwards here, having the risk of triggering a contact only be the outsider, as opposed to here, where she could trigger both. So far so good. Morris joins her. McQueen moves over to half cover to have a better shot down this lane, then steadies his weapon, while everybody else goes into Overwatch. Time for Morris to take a peek. And considering the situation's on a knife edge between two packs of Thinmen and an outsider, I simply have Edwards move up, McQueen steadies weapon, and everyone go into Overwatch. So here we go. 3 Thinmen and 2 missed Overwatches. So before I do anything else, I'll have McQueen take a guaranteed shot with his steady sniper rifle on the one Thinman I can see. Now I believe the other 2 Thinmen are here. And if Morris moves up here, he might just be in range for a grenade throw on this critically injured Thinman, leaving Edwards to drop down to full cover and flashbang these 2. But hopefully I won't trigger the outsider. And he's got a grenade throw on all 3. But before we do that, let's drop down Edwards and just make sure that she's got her flashbang ready. And just as I planned, Morris throws his grenade. And takes out the injured Thinman. Now I'm very wary about run and gunning Pacino up with his shotgun, as doing so will very likely trigger the outsider. So first I'll move him to this cover and see what the odds are. Not great. So before I move Pacino next to Edwards, something to note about the Thinmen spit. Any stat affecting property that would lower the range of a grenade or reduce the range of a rocket shot, such as suppression, mind fray, or poison spit, now also applies to the Thinmen's spit range. So flashbanging these 2 should hopefully reduce their range enough that they won't be able to spit at both Pacino and Edwards. So now they're disorientated, they should pose considerably less of a threat. So Pacino can run and gun up next to Edwards and try to take out the Thinman leader with a 73-70. Whew. And now that last Thinman, even though he's immune to the damage the acid does, will still have reduced accuracy and spit range from not just the flashbang but also the acid. Speaking of which, how does the acid work now in Long War? As I mentioned, it reduces accuracy, but it also reduces any damage reduction from cover or armor if the target's robotic. So yes, that means, like this Thinman, any alien that would usually be immune to poison, like chrysalids or drones, will still be affected by those penalties. And the last thing is, how does the damage work? Before, the damage would be 1 point per turn for 3 turns. Now the damage works by applying 1 point of damage for every action performed that wasn't hunkered down. And the acid can last randomly between 2 and 4 turns. Meaning theoretically, someone can take 8 points of damage. Or if they just hunkered down or skip their move, 0. Which I absolutely love. So with that long-winded explanation out the way, let's bring Redford and Davis around without alerting the pilot. And the brilliant AI in Long War has been programmed to recognise when an alien has been affected by acid. Unfortunately for him, McQueen's got a bead on him. With 84%. So all 3 Thinmen dead. Let's regroup. And reload. I'll have Redford join Morris. Prepare for the outsider and those last Thinmen. While McQueen can move back. And reload. And Davis rejoins Edwards and Pacino. Judging by the angle of the outsider noise and how much of the inside of their scout I've revealed, it looks like the outsider must be along here, which means I'm not going to be able to get in close to guarantee a kill and minimise the chances of not triggering the last Thinmen pack. So I'm tempted to do something that I don't usually do and trigger the outsider and draw him to me. So let's see what Pacino spots. Nothing yet. Davis can join Morris and Redford, and Edwards can follow Pacino. I think it's time to finally trigger that outsider.
The alien flight computer could prove to be extremely useful. Please take great care in returning it to the base in one piece.
Not a priority, Varlin. Thankfully, considering where the outsiders moved, because they're always so aggressive, Pacino can run and gun and get a flank, but I prefer not to risk triggering that last pack of Thinmen. And incredibly, McQueen has a shot, 84%, although it would have been 100 if I'd steadied his weapon. Yep, I definitely should have steadied his weapon. So, let's just risk it and kill him. Firstly, by seeing if the rookies can get the job done by shooting over low cover. Morris, 51%. Make it happen. Yep, that just happened. Redford, you're up next. 68%. With a meager 2 damage. Davis, your turn. 48%. And lastly, Edwards, with a horrible 36. Which I really shouldn't have doubted. So with 2 shots hit, and the outsider being on 6 health, it's far more likely that Pacino can finish the job. So let's find out. Guaranteed hit. Come on, 6 damage. Or at least a 70% critical hit.
Everything by the numbers.
Thank God. And I guess that last pack of Thinmen were a no-show. Really, game? Seriously? It's bad enough you don't record the game sound, but now you're mocking me with Thinmen noises that are clearly coming from 2 distinct directions? Are you making fun of me, game? Honestly, are you taking the mickey? Oh well, I suppose it's better that than underestimating the amount of Thinmen and triggering more than 1 pack at a time. Great work all round. Let's look at Pacino's new assault perk, which is going to be either Flush, Steadfast, or Close Combat Specialist. As usual, Flush can be a handy utility, but can also be incredibly unreliable, as the target can just simply move from one cover to the next. Steadfast, like last time, is not something I'd like to spend as a perk for a soldier. Then there's Close Combat Specialist. If Pacino's not out of ammo, hunkered down, or panicked, he'll fire a single reaction shot at every enemy that closes within 4 tiles. Most of the time this perk doesn't come into effect, unless I set her up next to a door without Overwatch, and an alien barges through it, and gets a point blank shot to to the face. Where this perk really shines is in terror missions, when a group of chrysalids will line up one after another to have a shot at dodging Chino's close range reaction fire, which can be absolutely clutch. Next we've got Edwards and Morris, who can both become a scout or a sniper. Come on Morris, let's not kid ourselves, you've got below average aim, you're never going to hold a sniper rifle. So scout it is. And Edwards I'll leave as it is, as she only has mediocre aim. Redford, who can become a gunner or a rocketeer, and with that aim, let's be honest, it's going to be rocketeer. And Davis, who can become an infantry or an assault. And again, with higher than average aim, it's going to be infantry. A nice bit of loot and salvage, including a fully intact UFO flight computer, which unlocks the research alien computers. Anyone else notice how similar this is to the music played in UNATCO HQ? No? Guess it's just me then. So it's been about a week since I recorded the mission, and as I won't be heading down the path of building satellite and satellite uplinks one after another, I've decided to reconsider Russia's request for weapon fragments. Because without extra funding from council countries, I'm going to need all the money I can get. The other thing that I reconsidered was a couple of outstanding soldier promotions. Starting with Elaine Edwards, who is only marginally above average in the aim department. But as I already have 3 scouts, but only 2 snipers, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and make her a sniper. Next there's Jane Fonda and Julio Iglesias, both heavies with 64 aim. But as I have 3 rocketeers and 3 gunners, I have no qualms about making Jane Fonda a gunner. But I'll leave Julio Iglesias for another day, as I wouldn't want 5 gunners over 3 rocketeers. So with that all done, let's get down to business. First thing is, 2 new scopes. Awesome. I sure hope I don't forget to bring one of them. And the autoloader, extra ammo for shivs and mechs. And finally, my next research is done. Alien materials, which allow me to build alloy plating, heat ammo, and alloy belts. Alloy plating being the soldier upgrade from ceramic plating. Alloy belts, essentially alloy plating for shivs and mechs. And the shiv exclusive item, heat ammo, which means shivs will be able to do greatly increased damage to robotic units. But before we pick our next research, new in Beta 7, for every class of UFO you've successfully assaulted and turned into a new Taco Bell, you get a research for, like the one here. All are incredibly fast researches, with 11 scientists, the scouts being 6 days, and once completed, give you a short overview of what the usual mission is for that class of UFO, whether it's armoured or not, so you can choose more appropriate weapons beforehand, and most importantly, grants approximately plus 10% extra damage on all shots fired against that class. So next on the agenda is of course beam weaponry, which is swap places in the long war tech tree with pulse lasers. So gotta get me some light firing guns.
I expected that would be a priority research task, Commander.
Of course it fucking is, Varlin. I want to shoot lasers! But it'll have to wait, the better part of a month apparently. Ugh. In the meantime we can build a couple of alloy plating, which will help better protect frontline troops which always run off into the thick of battle. But unfortunately heat ammo and alloy belts are going to have to wait, as both require more engineers. Besides, I've got a job to do. Oh, speaking of which, so who's going to be coming with us? It's moderate difficulty, so I think I can get away with bringing 3 recruits. I'll have Julia Roberts, the Rocketeer, as squad leader, carrying an extra rocket, but no scope, only laser sight. The Grenadier, Ronald Reagan, as we'll be fighting in urban terrain, and he'll be able to throw grenades over concealment. The Scout and our point man, Paul Newman, with a tac vest for increased mobility, and ceramic plating to compensate for the low health of the tac vest. The same setup that I'm now giving assaults, and a medkit to make sure he's always on full health to dodge those overwatches. River Phoenix with below average aim, who's getting a smoke and a flashbang grenade. George Washington, who was unfortunately about to head out to a fancy dress party right before the mission as Abraham Lincoln. Guys, what can I say? I've spent about 14 hours solid trying to sort out the video, but at least it goes to show that I will never ever make alterations to an Ironman save game. For this mission he's going dressed as Lincoln, with average aim, battle scanner and a flashbang. And lastly Robin Williams, with high aim, low health, ceramic plating and our second medkit.
Prepare for deployment, Strike 1.
Australia has sent a number of requests for assistance.
So next time we'll be finding out if Julia Roberts will lead our double presidential team to victory, as Melbourne's silent saviour.
I wanted orange. It gave me lemon lime.
So for the sake of the video I need to record the sound of a shotgun firing without it actually hitting anything. That's Xcom, folks.